Hi everyone, I'm Cassidy Megan and welcome to Unmasked with Cassidy Megan podcast. Today we have AJ with us and I was inspired by his story and I'd like you all to meet him and hear his story firsthand. AJ, would you like to give a quick introduction of yourself?
Yeah, I'm AJ Taylor. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, the United States. And I work in the marketing department with Atlanta United FC. And I've been battling epilepsy for 12 years now.
Excellent. So how do you find epilepsy affects you?
That's a relative question. I think there's different aspects. Of course, when you're first diagnosed, it affects you in a different way than it does when you've been fighting for a while. So when I was first diagnosed, I was affected mentally by the confusion, by the fear. Why is it me? Why is this happening to me and nobody else in my family? Kind of thing. And then of course you get the physical aspects. I have grand mal seizures most of the time. Had a couple of the absence seizures, but most are very strong convulsions. So post seizures, I'm very worn out. Sometimes my friends would have to push me in wheelchairs because my body was so sore. And of course your tongue is lashed from your teeth grinding on it so much and things like that. But I think that as you move forward, some of those effects kind of lessen. I wouldn't say they go away, especially the physical aspect of the seizure, but maybe the mental part does go away as you kind of develop as a person, but also develop as a warrior.
That's a great way to explain it. Yeah, I was just smiling and laughing because I can relate to quite a bit of those. I've never had been pushed around by a wheelchair, but the tongue, the soreness, I definitely understand all of that one.
For sure.
Yeah. So what are some other obstacles you've had to overcome throughout your journey with epilepsy?
Yeah, like I said, I think at the beginning, I lost a lot of self-confidence. It wasn't there, especially throughout high school, early college. I always thought maybe I'm less than because I have epilepsy. But as you grow as a person and as you grow into your battle and surrounded by people that do actually support you, and you kind of filter through those people that don't, you find that self-confidence again through those people that support you constantly. And some other things, I was a cross-country runner in college, and with epilepsy, that's a little different. You don't see that often. So I would have to worry about going running on the trails. And there were a couple of times where I did have a seizure where I was running by myself. And people had to come find me. My teammates had to find me and pick me up and take me back, kind of thing. And there would be moments where I would have a seizure the day before an important race, and I'd have to go run the race the next day. But sometimes miracles happen. I would have a seizure the day before and then have my fastest time I ever had all year. So it just depends on how it works, I guess, and how much you're willing to put into it. And then like we talked about earlier, my wreck, that was huge. Never thought that was going to happen. I was 5 minutes from my house, had a seizure while I was driving. I was by myself. They had to take me in a helicopter to life flight me to the hospital. They had to revive me a couple times. I was in a coma. They told my parents that it wasn't looking good for a minute, but luckily I was still responding. I was in a coma, but I was responding. When people would talk to me, my heart monitor would spike really high. So I think that's again, a miracle. You see that when people support you, your body can get through anything. It's just your mind that you got to change and work through.
That's amazing. did you face much stigma with your epilepsy at all?
Oh yeah, I actually posted about this on my Instagram the other day. I mean, you probably know too. Like names are thrown out all the time. Like you're called different things, like spaz or twitch or like things like that. And I think also you see some people see flashing lights and are automatically like, AJ, where's AJ at? Where's AJ at? Like, that's not my trigger. I mean, it never has been. It could be later on down the road, but it's never been my trigger. So, like, things like that. And of course, everybody gets the question, can you really swallow your tongue when you have a seizure? No, I can't swallow my tongue. I can bite it up pretty bad, but I can't swallow it. And different things like that. I think the name calling hurt the most, of course. And when people would say things like, why can't we just strap you to a bed when you have a seizure? It's not like we're in a psych hospital. Like we're normal people, just like everyone else. We just have a different obstacle we got to conquer.
Yeah, I've never heard the strap us down to a bed. I heard like people holding others down.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
wow.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like the flashing lights, like it's good that your peers were aware that is a trigger for some people, and like we're looking for you just to be safe, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely not fun. I had to miss out on a few like dances and stuff like that because strobes are one of my triggers. So I'd always have to like school dances. My friends, I had the deck. My friends would guide me out of the gym.
Right.
Yeah, I ran into a wall a few times. That was good.
Yeah, haunted houses have definitely
Mm-hmm.
looked down a bit. I think actually the other night on Halloween, my friends wanted me to go out, and I looked up the website, and the place was known for the lights, and I was like, it's not my trigger, but I'm gonna hold off. I'm gonna keep back just to be safe. So yeah.
Yeah, and like so like when I was first diagnosed, strobes and flashlights were trigger, and then they may not have been for a bit, and then like it came back as a trigger. So
Right.
like I went to like the haunted core maze, and I could see the lights from like the zombie house
Mm-hmm.
in the distance, but it wasn't enough to trigger. By
Right.
the time I'm like, oh, I should be okay, but probably avoid, be safe.
Yeah.
But the distance didn't bother me too much, which was nice.
For sure. It was weird. My first triggers, like my first seizures, always happened in the shower. Always, no matter what. It, apparently, the doctor said it might have been the hot water pressure on the back of my head. But yeah, that was my trigger for a long time. But then went away. So I don't know.
Interesting. Well, it's good it went away. I know,
Yeah.
like, if they get, like, a weird hot temperature, then it could trigger seizure for me.
Right.
But thankfully, I don't think I've had one from the shower. I know, like, mom's always worried with that.
Yeah.
So how did you usually kind of, like, deal or respond to the discrimination that you faced?
I think in the beginning, I was very due to like the lack of self-confidence I had, I would kind of shelter myself. I just walk away, take it, walk away, and then be just living with the hurt kind of thing. I think now it's more of, okay, they said it, but I know my worth. I know that epilepsy doesn't, it may be a part of me, but it doesn't define who I am. So I know how to separate the two and compartmentalize it to where it doesn't negatively, although it hurts sometimes, it doesn't intense negatively affect me.
That's fair. That's good that you can have that mindset and like know your worth, and that you don't let the others what does say like affect you too much.
Yeah.
So you talked about your accident.
Mm-hmm.
I know that was a really traumatic event.
Right.
I've been following you for a bit now, and I see that you definitely not let your epilepsy stop you
Yeah.
by any means.
No.
I was wondering how you were doing with the after effects of the car accident now. Like, are you driving? How are like the after effects doing? And how did your family deal with it all?
Yeah, I am driving now. There was a year where I went, I think it was a year, or no, 6 months I went without driving. Uh, but luckily during that time I was heading to live out the country for a while, so I didn't really have a need for, to drive for a hot minute. So that was good. Um, my family, it definitely affects my mom a lot. She definitely, you can tell she worries a lot. And me and her in the same, we're criers. So sometimes when my seizures happen, she would, be crying or things like that. Yeah, my dad, he's a hard read. So we're all emotional people, but you can tell, like, I remember when I was younger, when it first happened, like when my seizures started first happening, I was like asking him in like a car ride to school, like, why is this happening to me? And he was like, I don't know. And I think that's the first time where I was like, wow, like my dad said he doesn't know, like out of like all the things I ever asked him, I always feel like he had an answer for. And that was the one time where he was like, I'm not sure. And like, as we all know, epilepsy is a huge unknown, like among the medical world. So it's fair to not know enough about it. So it's definitely how it affects my family. But we're making it through. My mom has MS, so there's definitely another aspect to that as well.
Yeah, we have like I know a few people who have MS. It's definitely takes its toll on everyone as well.
Right, for sure.
Um, is there anything else you'd like to share or tell about your accident?
Oh. My accident, specifically, I think it's easy to be like, oh, this happened to me, this traumatic event happened to me. Like I can take this and be kind of put myself in a box for the rest of my life. I think this was the game changer for me. I think my accident was the game changer because before I was acting like I was in a box my whole life. Like I was very scared to do anything, but the accident is when I ironically changed. Like it's time for me to be brave. Your life can be over at any point. As we saw with COVID this year, like anything can happen. So you gotta live it out. Like whatever you're doing, you gotta live it out. I've been around the world. That fall, after I had that wreck in the summer, I started my cross country season, my first collegiate cross country season. I think you just gotta move from being in this shelter box, even though it may take time, you got to move from that to, man, I'm going to live my life and not let epilepsy define it. For sure.
Definitely. Could not
Yeah.
agree more with that one.
Yeah.
Um, your strength and determination is really inspiring, and I'm so glad to hear that you kept going and that it, in a way, helped you.
Yeah.
I like you turn this like traumatic event into something positive for you, and then giving it a positive outlook. I just think that's really amazing.
Yeah.
Um, what is something you would tell someone that was newly diagnosed with epilepsy?
Um, yeah. I would say first, like, build your team, like, whether it's your family, your friends, like, you have to build your team or you can't make it by yourself. No matter how much you know your worth, your friends and family will affirm it. If they're really your friends and family, they will affirm your worth. I would say build your team, block the haters. There are some people that are going to say mean things to you, and it's not okay, but you can beat them if you have that strong team behind you at all times. And I think also, like, take care of yourself also, I say, because I had two people I loved come confront me about it. There was a time where I was having more seizures than normal. Sometimes I would go long periods without having them, and I started having them again, increasingly more and more and more. And it's because I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't eating like I was supposed to. I wasn't getting the rest that I needed. People with epilepsy need more rest, I think. So get the rest that you need. Protect yourself. There were some times when I would drink more than I should, and that isn't a good thing for us. So there are definitely some aspects where you need to take care of yourself. So I would say that build your team, take care of yourself, are the two big things, I would say. And listen to your doctor. Do not ignore them. There was definitely times where I was like, I don't need this medicine. And I definitely did. So
That is all excellent advice. I agree with all of that 100%.
For sure.
Yeah, it's good to have a good support system. Mm-hmm. And I think almost like a plus of being diagnosed with epilepsy is that it kind of does show you who your true friends are.
For sure.
So I definitely very agreeable on that one.
Yes.
And it sucks. People are gonna say things, and everyone's gonna have their opinion. You just gotta block them out and prove them wrong each step of the way.
Right. That's the key. Proving them wrong.
Yeah. That's something I've kind of just installed in me. Just someone said I can't do something, I'm like, oh yeah, watch me do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes not so much.
Right. That was the motivation when I would run. You told me I had the worst seizure. My doctor was like, I don't know if you should run this. I'm going to run it. I'm going to prove. I'm going to be fast, just as fast as those kids that don't have epilepsy.
Exactly. And like, as long as you're not risking yourself or your teammates, then power to you.
Right. For sure.
I did like competitive cheerleading for the first few 7 years. Wow. And my doctor was like, as long as you're not the person that gets thrown in the air, okay, we'll try it.
Yeah.
And like I was at one point, and he was a nervous wreck, but I was fine.
Yeah.
They caught me every time.
For sure. And
like I'd had seizures like at the end of the day of the competition or sometimes before, and I have to like. So they were good. The sport was really good with that, with compromising and everything.
Yeah.
But it can be hard growing up with epilepsy too, and it's like just, I guess like seeing all your friends go out partying, and then all your friends getting their license.
Right.
The license I wasn't too bummed about because I don't have to worry about like insurance or tracking or the risks and the expenses. So like I'm like, it's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess the party is more like, am I missing out on things that my friends are doing?
Right.
But I don't like big crowds where you can barely move, so it kind of works out for me.
Yeah.
How did you kind of face those challenges?
Which ones?
Like seeing your friends do things that you may not have been able to do with them because so like for me, like a big thing about going downtown partying was the strobe lights.
Yeah.
Being the trigger for me. Did you have, so for you, maybe you drove, so when you, or like the drinking, so you couldn't drink as much as your friends and get hammered and
for sure
all of that. So like how did you kind of like, just like stuff like that you seen your friends experiencing and doing that you couldn't partake in or felt you couldn't?
Yeah, I feel like, of course, there were those times where I would overindulge more than I should have. And I would see those results. Sometimes I'd have the seizure the next morning or late in the night. But I think you do have to realize your limits and put people, even like drinking in general, but especially if you have epilepsy, like you have to realize your limits and put people around you that are going to call you out on your limits. I know I have a lot of friends that will say, AJ, stop, or you can't do that, or things like that. And it's healthy to, even in those times where you want to have fun, which you don't have to get drunk to have fun, but I think there are those times where you need your friends around you to call you out. For sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's a good way. Yeah, so on the topic, I guess, of friends and having people who would call you out and all that,
Yeah.
what would you what would you say to family and friends of a person that was recently diagnosed? What advice would you give them?
I think one, be sensitive as to what you say. I think that maybe at the start of my diagnosis, there were some things said between in family, friend groups that they didn't know. A lot of people in my life didn't know what epilepsy was like, so they would just shout out things they may have seen in a movie or a TV show. I think be sensitive, understand the person, ask them questions. I think that's a lot of problems in our world come from people not willing to ask each other questions and really get to know, like, who is this person, what is this part of them, what is it about, can I help them, can I help them further along, can I support them in any way. I think that's a big thing, asking questions and have that flexibility to understand and be sensitive about it.
Excellent. I know, talking to friends I make, it always, sometimes it could seem like they want to ask, but they're not sure. They're not sure how to, or they're afraid they're gonna offend me. And I'm like, look, I don't know if I'm very open.
Yeah.
If you have a question, ask it. If you don't know how to word it, ask it how you're thinking it, and I can help you with the wording if you ever want to ask someone else in the future.
For sure.
Yeah. It just takes a lot to it takes a lot to get me really offended.
Yep.
Because I'm just like, look, if you don't know, you don't know. This is how you're gonna learn.
For sure.
Even if we're not even on the topic and it pops in your head, ask the question, ask it. Oh. So it's, yeah, I feel like that's the big one, is asking questions and learning. Whole awareness.
Right, for sure. Don't believe everything you see on TV or in TV or in movies.
Oh no. Even, yeah. TVs don't always show exactly the right
for sure
things to do. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we talked about how your epilepsy affects you. Are you still running in school, or are you still running?
Yeah, I'm not in school anymore. Yeah. I made it through a master's degree. I'm done.
Nice, congrats.
I don't want to go back to school anymore. But yeah, I still do a lot of things. I'm very active. I play soccer on a regular basis. I ride bikes, skateboard in Atlanta. I work for a professional soccer team. I get to be there on game day, work game days. I try to live my life as normal as possible. If a seizure pops up, sucks, but you gotta move on. You gotta live with it, Again, take a little bit of time to heal, and then go for it. Keep going.
Excellent. That's amazing that you got your master's and everything. Yeah. What was it master's in?
Yeah, I actually did a master's in ministry, but I ended up working in sports, so it's a little different. Um, but I love every minute of it.
That's amazing.
For sure.
I also just proves that like you can accomplish so much even having epilepsy. A lot of people, growing up, people are like, oh, you will be able to get into good school, get a good schooling, get a good jobs, and I'm like, watch me,
Yeah,
watch
I
me
can
do
do the
it.
same thing you can. Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. What was the name of the soccer team you're on?
Uh,
You work for?
yeah, I work for Atlanta United. They play in MLS.
Okay. Next question. What is something you wish people knew about epilepsy?
Um, I don't know if I wish people knew. I think it's more of, like I said, I wish people would understand. I think that um, there's some people that, of course, have more severity, I guess, and having seizures more constantly, more often. And then, like, people like me that have seizures like every now and then. But I think that just because you don't have seizures as much doesn't mean it doesn't affect you just as much. Um, I think that's the thing. I think sometimes I've seen where, oh, you don't have the real epilepsy. You don't have the one where it's every day or so like maybe multiple times a day. I think it's important to understand that every epilepsy is hard. It's hard to live with no matter what type. There's like 40 different types of seizures you can have. So yeah, everybody's epilepsy is just as important as the next one and should be researched just as much. So I think that's more of, I want people to understand versus what they need to know, I guess. But
That's, yeah, I 100% agree with that one too. I've had that said to me, like, oh, well, at least you don't have the bad type. That was said many times. I'm like, they're all risky. They all have, no one is worse than the other.
right.
They all,
They all come with different implications.
yeah. And getting people to understand that one can be difficult sometimes.
Right.
Um, I guess continuing on that last question was just, do you have any like last words you'd like to share? Anything I haven't asked that you'd like to say? Anything at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like we gotta encourage each other. Like, no one should be in the battle by themselves. Like I said, we gotta build our team, whether that's your family, whether that's your friends, whether that's people across the world. You gotta build your team, even with people you meet on social media. It's totally fine. And then I have it tattooed on my arm, but I wrote this a while ago, and this is probably my favorite thing share with people is we rise clothed in courage to fight against seizures, and together we gain victory over epilepsy. I think that's important. Like together we can do it. We can gain victory. It's just a matter of building our team and being as strong as possible.
That's amazing. You take like a photo of that and like send
Sure.
me that so I can put that on? Because that I like to. Yeah, that is amazing. I never. Yeah. Um, and yeah, that's beautiful saying.
Yeah, I just wrote it in my journal one day and I was like, I like that. I'm gonna get it tattooed.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was cool when I actually got it tattooed. The artist was like, my little sister has epilepsy. And it was cool. We got to talk about it while he was tattooing me, and like he gave me a discount, which was nice because tattoos are expensive. But it was really cool. It
Amazing.
happens all the time. When people ask, "Hey, what is that on your arm?" and you get to tell your story and share. It's great.
Yeah. I got one on my wrist, and like there's a little purple heart on the
Oh,
side for like epilepsy and purple day, and it's like infinity symbol, never ending love and support.
yeah.
And then like instead of saying love you more in the family, we say ye more. So there's like two
Yeah.
M's for that.
Yeah.
Mom got a matching one, and Chad didn't, but okay.
Well. Yeah, I have one on my right leg too. That's a ribbon, epilepsy ribbon, and it has chains around it, but the chains are like breaking away. And it was for when I started like I got it right after my wreck, but before I started running, so I could kind of like represent while I was running in college. So,
That's amazing too. Thank you so much for sharing your story here. I know it's going to be inspiring to so many others.
sure.
You have such a wonderful attitude and outlook on your epilepsy and on life. It's really amazing to see that. And I'm glad we can share that with the world.
Yeah,
And
for
you
sure.
agreed to doing this to be on the podcast. You
Yeah.
did excellent telling your stories, and
Yeah. Thank
I'm
you.
glad we can. I'm glad you're comfortable sharing it and let me share it through here.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for having me. It's been great, and I love seeing your post as well, impacting the world. I love it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I feel stronger than before. I'm not alone anymore. I look up and you are there. The stars are everywhere. Our lights are shining bright, filling up the night. I look in the mirror and look at me. I look like anyone else that you might see. So wave your purple colors high. Together, together we will fly. I look up and you are there. The stars are everywhere. Our lights are shining bright.